Yo, good day, gents, and welcome to another episode of Father's Fire. My name's Jody, Sedrick, and every week we get together to explore the joys, the challenges, the triumphs, the sorrows, and yes, the fun of being a dad, and also the work. Sometimes that work is out in your backyard, like you see me today. I spent all day yesterday out in the yard getting everything ready for winter. Cut down like 4 different trees, and it's amazing how getting your hands dirty, getting that physical just work done in your yard, it's so rewarding. But man, it sure kicks you in the butt when you're not used to doing it every day. But yeah, I feel really good. My yard looks amazing now, or at least it's getting better. I still got some work to do. But I've been thinking a lot about, while I was working, some conversations that I had with a couple men this week who are struggling in their relationships with their wife. And I thought, you know what? A lot of this, my podcast is geared towards, being a good father, but related to that is being a good husband and having a good relationship with your wife. So I thought that today I might talk about some things that I've learned over the years as I've, worked with my wife, watching my own dad, watching other men. And I had a really good conversation with my dear friend on Friday. We were driving around, and as we were driving around, he was sharing me how a friend of ours, a mutual friend, him and his wife, are really struggling in their marriage, and the husband isn't quite sure if they're going to make it. And in their conversations, he's like, I'm not even sure if it's worth it, whether I should continue to, work on this marriage when I'm not sure day to day where her heart is. And I think a lot of relationships get to that point where you're not sure if you're walking into a landmine or you're walking into a lovey situation, or things have gotten so bad that there's just this wall between you. And as I listened to him and as I was talking to him, he asked the question, and it was the right question to ask. He goes, are you going to really dig into this relationship? Because think back when you first got married to this beautiful lady, you knew that she had baggage. You guys came in, she already had kids. You took on the responsibility of being a stepdad to these kids. You took on both the emotional and the financial responsibility. You made the decision as a couple to work in a way that enabled her to stay home for the majority of their kids coming up. And when you were first dating, you recognized that she was coming out of an abusive relationship. So you were patient, you were deliberate, you allowed her space to discover your relationship, to rediscover herself, to discover something new in you, and that there was a possibility. And now that there's friction between you two, your go-to response is, well, you know what, I'm not getting any older, it might be easier just to start over. And he goes, why would you start over when at the beginning of the relationship you were patient and you were deliberate and you moved with purpose, you moved with intent to earn her heart, to show her that you were the man that she was yearning for, that she was hoping for? So why don't you take that same intensity of when you were first dating and apply that now that you're struggling? And embrace the struggle that you two have gotten into, and just make the decision to say, you know what, we're in a dark moment. We can work together through a dark moment and be so intent, so purposeful that you give her no excuse to close the door on your relationship and to move on. And I think a lot of times, especially, I've been watching a lot of episodes on TikTok, on YouTube, on stories, on Facebook. You see all of these grand efforts made when people are first asking somebody to get married. I mean, they'll like make these signs, they'll roll out rose petals, they'll have the in-laws and the brothers and the sisters all secretly taking photos. But yet in our day-to-day relationship, once we get into the relationship, we fall into complacency. We're not putting that same effort to show her that we are the woman that she needs. And it's tough because as I was talking to my friend, he said, some of the stuff I have to own because we've gotten into a point in our relationship where we have a great relationship. In every aspect of our marriage except for when it comes to what happens in the bedroom. And he goes, I have to own that some of the stuff, and he didn't go into detail, some of the reasons why we're having challenges in the bedroom is because of things that I did when we were younger. And it's created this friction and this contention and this anxiousness around being intimate with each other, having sex, doing the things that married couples do. And I have to own that I've created a situation where now I have to be more deliberate, I have to be more patient, I have to be more understanding and allow her space to grow back together. And I like that. I think one of the challenges that we as men have is we always want to fix it. I mean, that's our go-to report. There's a problem, we fix it. But sometimes we've let a problem go for so long, either through our own arrogance, our own pride, our own neglect, our own just wanting not to deal with it, that when we get ready and all of a sudden we're ready to solve the problem, we're ready to dig in, our significant other is going, whoa, who is this guy? For years, I've been trying to get you to the table. I've been trying to get you the relationship. And now, all of a sudden, you're wanting to be engaged. You're saying all of these things. But I have this trail of tears for the last 10 years or 15 years. And you're wanting me to just go, okay, it's over. And we make the mistake of not allowing our significant other, the queen of our heart, the space, the grace to not only come to the same place where you are, where she's ready to meet you in the middle, but also giving her the space to heal from all of that trauma that you have intentionally or unintentionally caused through neglect or abuse or addiction or whatever it is, pornography, whatever. And all of a sudden, not allowing her the space to go through her own healing process that we caused. And I think that it's important that when we reach the point where we really want to dig into our relationship, that we need to recognize that there is a process of not only fixing, but also a process of healing. And we need to allow each other room to heal. And sometimes the healing process, it's like throwing a stone in a lake, right? Immediately when the problem happens, the ripples are really, really close. And then as they get farther out, the ripples get, farther apart and they get not as significant. And I think a lot of times in our relationships, we have something that happened that caused a huge ripple in our marriage. And Maybe we're sorry for it, or we've come to the point where we're sorry for it. And now, years later, as you think everything is healed, but something is said, a song is played, a memory or a smell or whatever ripples across our heart and our mind and reminds us of that hurt that happened a long time ago. And we get upset because all of a sudden this ripple is coming to the forefront when it's a natural consequence of moving through life, moving through those difficult decisions and trying to heal from them. So it's important that we really lean in, especially when we've been the one that's caused hurt. And recognize, let's just think about this, guys. If you were in a relationship and there was trust broken, and let's say it wasn't even that you went and had sex with someone, let's just say you were flirting at the office, maybe you got a little touchy-feely and maybe shared a deep passionate kiss, maybe even made out, and now you go, hey, you know what, sweetheart, I messed up. I came really close to really messing up. I mean, really messing up. But I did mess up. How long do you think it's going to take for your wife to heal from that broken trust? On the flip side, man, if your wife did that, how long would it take for you to heal? Because when you drove by the office or the place where they were at, or your mind just starts imagining what happened, right? And recognizing that while you may have had a really good relationship for 3, 5, 10, 20 years, and all of a sudden, in that moment of weakness, you made the wrong decision and you put yourself in a bad place where you weren't the best that you should have been. And that trust is severed immediately. And now you have to not only own the mistake that you made, but you also have to own the process of healing for you and her. You have to own that process. And that process is not going to take overnight. It's not going to be, oh, sweetheart, I'm sorry I messed up or whatever. It's going to be years of rebuilding that trust, re-showing that you have not only moved past that situation, but you've become more than that situation. You've become the man of her dreams again. And here's the challenging part, is you have to become more than you were before in order for you to rebuild that trust, to rebuild the confidence in that you will be loyal and true. So men, we have to own where we are in our relationship. We have to own the decisions that we made, and we have to own the process of reconciliation. We have to own the process of healing. We have to own the process of forgiveness. And it's important to recognize that forgiveness does not mean forgetting. Because if we ever forgot, we might fall into the same trip, the same circumstance. And so, as painful as it is, that memory is going to be there for a long time. It diminishes over time. The impact of that memory diminishes over time, especially as you prove that you are worthy of that love, that you are worthy of that trust. And I think too often, we as men, we as couples, we get impatient with the process of healing. We get impatient with the process of rebuilding. Just like at the beginning of your relationship, You were patient and deliberate, and you were kind, and you were deferential, and you gave her space. You need to do the same now that you're in your relationship in the midst of a challenge. Lean into each other. Lean into the dark moments. And I had a really good conversation with somebody that was really close to me. He said, I have to own what I did, right? I wasn't the best, but I'm hoping with all of my heart that we will be one of those stories of healing. That we will be one of those stories of triumph, of working through the darkness, working through the pain and the sorrow of not being at my best. And that we as a couple can work through and become one of these couples that healed through the process. Because here's the thing, guys. Every single one of us in our relationships, whether you're 1 year or 33 years into your relationship or 50 years, you're going to go through dark seasons. And you get to choose whether or not you're going to lean into that experience, the fire and the heat of that situation. Here's the key. You can either allow the heat of that situation to burn and sear and consume your relationship, or you can allow it to refine and beautify and pull out the ugly that is in you and in each other and refine it into something beautiful. But you get to choose whether you get consumed or refined. So embrace the process. And I was talking to my other friend. I'm like, look, guy, who's struggling. I said, you just have to lean in. I know it's tough. I know it's painful. And the question often comes up, how long is it going to take before it gets better? It's going to take what it takes. It's going to take you becoming more than you were yesterday. It's going to take patience, love, discernment, kindness, gentleness. It's going to require you to bite your tongue when you want to lash out, instead of going, you know what? What can I do to make your day better? It's amazing what a soft voice and a loving response will do to a situation. I told someone else that's really close to me, I said, you know what? You need to be so invested, so dedicated, so determined to make it work that you give her absolutely no excuse to leave the relationship. And if she does choose to do that, it will then be on her, not you. And you will be able to go, you know what? I did everything I could to make it right. And yeah, maybe there were things that I fell short on, but at least I was working towards it. But here's the deal, guys. Don't let your pride, don't let your arrogance not allow you to look at your own film. You need to be able to look at yourself with authenticity and go, you know what? I was not at my best. I'm a bit brutish. I'm a bit brash. I'm a bit temperamental. Sometimes I'm moody. Sometimes I lose my temper too fast. You have to recognize that in yourself. And you have to recognize when you need to say you're sorry, when you need to apologize, when you need to come to your beautiful wife or your kids even and say, you know what? I'm sorry. I was not at my best. I remember my dad was a great example of this. I remember one day, I was probably about 12, and it was in the evening, and I don't even remember what happened to lead up to this event. I just know that me and my kids, me and my brothers were not at our best. We were probably, fighting or whatever. My dad lost his cool. I mean, he lost it. And he stormed out of the house. And he was gone for hours. And finally, Mom, we said prayers, and Mom tucked us in our beds. And I'm telling you, the tension in our home was palpable. And going to bed, man, I was crying, I was sad, I was upset at myself for not being my best. And then all of a sudden, my door cracked open. My dad came and sat on the side of my bed, put his arms around me while he's sitting there, and I'm laying in the bed. He had one arm over my back, and he said, "Son," he said, "I want you to know that I'm sorry. I was not at my best, and you deserve better. And I want you to know that I love you and that I'm sorry. And I will strive to be better than I was tonight." And then he hugged me. And I know a lot of you men didn't have that in your home. And you wish you would have had that. But here's the thing. You can be that for your kids. And yes, you may feel a little uncomfortable the first or second time or third time. But I'm telling you, it will sear your children's hearts to you when you humble yourself, when you own your mistakes, and you are authentic with your children and your wife and say, "You know what, at that moment I was not at my best, and I'm sorry. You deserve better, and I will become better because I love you and I love us." And I'm telling you, I mean, that happened when I was 11 or 12. I'm 57 years old. That memory still sticks with me. That my dad was humble enough to come in and own his stuff. And he made me feel loved. He made me feel precious. He made me feel like, you know what, here's a dad that's trying to be the best version of himself. And he's trying to be the best dad and the best husband that he can be. And I really appreciate that experience, and it has stuck with me. And I often tell my kids, I'm like, look, and my wife, I'm like, I'm not the perfect dude, but I am trying. And when I make a mistake, I will own it. And I will become better. So guys, lean into your relationship. Lean into those dark moments. Those dark moments can be heart-wrenching. The heat of them can sear your heart, your mind, your soul, your spirit. They can consume every thought of you. And you can either choose to allow the heat of that situation to consume you, or you can allow it to refine you. You choose. So men, thank you so much for joining me every week. If there's anything that I can do to help you, please reach out. I'm always available via DM. You can email me at fathersfire@gmail.com, because I really want to create a safe space where we can grow as men, husbands, and fathers, and have an impact not only on our relationship with our wife, but also with our family. Thank you so much for joining me. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, and we will check you guys same time, same bat channel, just next week, right here on Father's Fire. See ya!